Well, hello there, and thank you for that lovely introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be joining from today. My name is Annie Pettit, and I hope you've enjoyed the last couple of days of the NewMR Festival so far, and that you're ready for just a couple more. Today, as you see, I'm going to talk about big data. You know, people are sometimes intimidated by big data. It just seems overwhelming, and they're much more familiar with using statistics on survey data or analyzing opinions from focus group data. But today I'm going to show you 9 examples of how companies that could have conducted survey or focus group research have instead used big data to accomplish big things. So keep your ears peeled. I'm going to go pretty fast. First, let's take a look at Netflix. Now, you might recall that Netflix used to rent movies on DVDs. Well, they have evolved with the times, and now they are a massive digital streaming company with 70 million subscribers watching 100 million hours of shows every single day. Now, Netflix could use a survey provider to invite a random sample of their subscribers to complete an online survey about the kinds of movies people want to watch. But they are sitting on a massive database containing years of exactly that type of data. Their data already tells them which movies people have watched, in which country, at what time, and even better, every movie has been tagged with variables like gender, age, and even the moral disposition of the characters in the shows. So instead of analyzing survey data from 500 people or even 1,000 people, they've analyzed actual watching trends of millions of subscribers. So analyzing this database is how they know that no one has ever gotten hooked on a show because of the pilot. And this data is how they predicted that House of Cards would be a huge hit. Now, if you're into gambling, you'll be pleased to hear that Caesars Entertainment is very keen to collect every tiny bit of data they can. They don't use survey providers to launch surveys about consumer demographics and gambling habits and practices. They already have that information in a database. 80% of their patrons, 45 million people, use loyalty cards. Some of them even use RFIDs or RFID bracelets. These devices can trace 80 from the meals they eat, the shows they watch, where and when they park their car, the drinks they ordered at the gambling hall or at the pool. So there is no need to ask people in a survey about tiny details they might actually forget, especially when loyalty cards never forget a thing. So it's with this data, Caesars runs hundreds of test control experiments, true experiments, that generate hundreds of insights. So they've learned that their profits don't come from rich travelers swooping in for the weekend. It's the locals who are spending just a few $100s who bring in most of the profits. So pulling these insights from data they already have has increased their share in the market from 36% to 45%. And that is a massive amount that every country just dreams about getting. Walmart is a fabulous retail example of big data. Now, they too could launch surveys asking people which products they bought, how often they buy them, why they buy them. But Walmart has a stunning data system that tracks every bit of information about every stock item. So this database keeps track of which products are bought, for example, as a single item versus with 50 other items, and which products are always bought together with Pop-Tarts and beer. And humans are constantly tweaking and retweaking these algorithms so that they can generate more effective coupons and marketing campaigns. It's the intelligence and the speed of these systems that means they can increase shipments, let's say, of Pop-Tarts when a hurricane is predicted to hit, because Historical data says that's what they need to do. Now, big data is also a big deal in the healthcare industry. In the US alone, big data is estimated to save more than $300 billion, or about 15% of the $2.6 trillion US healthcare costs, by aggregating 4 billion petabytes of data from medical trials at different pharmaceutical companies. Data analysts can identify when a standard protocol isn't actually the best protocol. So they don't need to survey doctors asking how many surgeries they've conducted and at what point in their career they achieve success with those surgeries. And in the case of Kaiser Permanente, their ability to exchange data, this kind of data across all of their facilities with electronic records, has led to better outcomes for cardiovascular disease, and it's actually led to a savings of $1 billion. And my favorite example, rather than running focus groups with consumers to ask them about their use of public parks, they ran a hackathon that correlated access to parks with obesity rates. And now this company is actually investing in building parks as part of their healthcare plans. But one of the things we love so much about eBay is that they absorb any fraud-related costs their users might suffer. It also means that they're really motivated to identify and prevent fraud. For example, in 2014, they prevented about $55 million of fraud. So they could run surveys and focus groups with their most trusted users and find out what tactics those consumers use to determine which vendors are trustworthy. But why should they create more data when they already have that data? They've got a database of more than 1.3 billion records, including every possible variable related to every order. They even use device ID, something we've tried to do within the survey and sample world, and something that we've really not been all that successful with. Anyways, with their database, eBay has created hundreds of algorithms that help them generate all kinds of really valuable insights. So for instance, fraud spikes in the middle of the week because fraudsters want their goods by the weekend. And gift card fraud is highest around New Year's, when those fraudulent purchases are more easily hidden among all the genuine people trying to redeem their holiday gift cards. So by taking on the risk of fraud, taking it away from consumers, they keep consumer and vendor satisfaction high and prevent attrition of their users. A weather signal is an example of big data under development. I had to include this one just because it's pretty cool. This is an app for your smartphone that uses atmospheric devices that might be on your phone. A barometer, hygrometer, a thermometer, light meters, collects all this information and reports it to a central location. And even if your phone doesn't have these things, they've done the research to figure out that certain characteristics of your phone are actually correlated with the weather. So forget people using a survey app on their phone to report what the weather is where they are right now. This app infers temperature from light sensors and battery temperatures. And based on the automatic readings from thousands of people at thousands of GPS locations throughout a city, the app can generate far more detailed information than a few weather stations around the city, or what a few people around the city see when they look up into the sky. So these thousands of pop-up weather stations can predict and report on sudden snow or rainstorms that can't be determined from a few weather stations. This is almost like crowdsourced weather forecasting, which is where I think we're going to head. I'm pretty sure the UPS is another company that is on people's love-to-hate list. But the United States Postal Service, which delivers more than 15 million packages per day. You're going to get bored of hearing me say millions and billions and trillions, but that's what big data is all about. They've got data points like engine performance, speed, number of stops, mileage, driving behaviors. And all of this information has helped them save 40 million gallons of fuel, avoid more than 350 million miles, eliminate 85,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide. So there really is no need for them to run focus groups asking drivers about techniques they personally use to decrease mileage and idling. Their analytics system delivers thousands of real-time route optimizations per minute, and that is how they deliver more packages more quickly. On top of that, this will help them save nearly $400 million a year when it's fully operational this year. Now, like me, I'm sure many of you took public transit to work today. And given that it's winter, or in Toronto, rainy season, I had no idea what the weather was going to do, how it was going to interfere with the train tracks, the subway switches, if the transit system would be turned into a parking lot. I had no clue if my train would be on time or if it would even come at all, not until I was standing on the platform. But if you live in Stockholm, Sweden, chances are you've never answered a survey about your transit habits and how they are affected by weather. In Sweden, you might never know there was supposed to be a delay. They figured out a way to predict delays 2 hours before they even happen, which means they can compensate, maybe by pulling a new train into service. And of course, this is done automatically by algorithms that have been carefully worked on by data scientists. Now, lastly, I'd like to share with you my favorite example of big data. And of course, I have to talk about research panel companies. Not everyone realizes it, but at the major companies dealing with millions of panelists, there is a group of people working quietly behind the scenes. These people, including me, have databases once again with millions of records, thousands of variables, and hundreds of tables filled with survey clicks, screens, quotas, completes, incentives, vendors, data quality. And they're analyzing terabytes of data to figure out which incentives work best. How is data quality dependent on survey length? How does it correlate with demos and psychographics? When does poor survey behavior happen? So they're figuring out which panelists don't deserve to remain on the panel and which panelists deserve extra incentives for good behavior. Now, they may not be working with petabytes of data like Netflix or eBay or UPS, but the process of automatically collecting and analyzing that data is very much the same. There is big data behind every research panel. So, you know, there are a lot of things we can measure with surveys. We can ask you what songs you like, what books or music you like, which medical treatments you've had, when you haven't got your packages on time, or even what kinds of surveys you like or what kind of incentives you want. We can hope people will remember these details accurately. But now that so much information is automatically saved into databases, we can go straight to the data and we can stop asking people about basic facts that can be easily substantiated. We need to save surveys and focus group for things that big data can't measure. Things like emotions and opinions, preferences. By combining the insights we gather from big data with the insights we gather from smaller data, the research process really does come out ahead. So I think it's about time each of us took a giant leap, a big leap, and got involved in a big data project. Thank you very much.